The woman, with a smirk on her face, expected action from her acquaintance. He, in turn, expected action from her. Tension was building. The boy didn't understand why everyone stood silently and did nothing when his sister was taken hostage. Jinback didn't wait any longer and rushed to Midden's rescue. One of the mercenaries reacted to the boy's attack and threw a wave of power at him. Jinback didn't even realize what it was. He just watched as something that looked like a red mist rushed towards him. The old man grabbed his grandson by the scruff of the neck at the last moment and pushed him aside. He took the full force of the mercenary's blow on himself, flew a couple of meters away and, defeated, fell to the ground. The boy ran up to his relative, frightened. He could see that his grandfather was badly hurt by the blow. Holding his chest, the elderly man told his grandson to save himself. He realized from the first glance at the guest that their acquaintance would bring trouble. The boy looked at his grandfather in surprise. He didn't understand why he was ordering Jinback to escape when Midden was being held captive by these people. The boy's guest advised him to follow the advice of his elders and said that he would handle everything himself. The warrior summarized that children have no place where there will be a battlefield and blood will be spilled. Hondun said that if anything went wrong, the boy could die. Jinback looked at the man in amazement. The warrior turned to Shinny asking what she was doing in this village and in this house. Smirking, the woman replied that she and her squad were looking for traces of Baipuchi but found him, Hondun. She asked if the men had seen each other, if they had searched for Jade together. The warrior looked at the woman gloomily. The man frowned at his acquaintance. He wasn't going to answer her questions, and he realized that with each question the situation would only get more complicated. Shinny realized that the guy wasn't going to say a word to her, so she decided to press on, threatening the girl's life, and strung her up by the scruff of her neck. The woman put the golden claw of her glove to the child's neck and said that the little girl's life would depend on the warrior's answer, and froze waiting for his choice. The man looked carefully at the one he had once considered his friend. She was indeed willing to sacrifice the life of this child to get what he needed. Hondun tried to reason with the woman. After all, the matter in question was just between the two of them. He didn't want any innocents to suffer because of it. Shinny smiled unpleasantly and said that she didn't want to let the girl go, and if he needed it that badly, he would have to answer all her questions. And then swung her left arm up sharply, leaving deep claw-like wounds on Midden's back and tossing the girl aside. The warrior was puzzled at the ferocity with which the woman acted. It went against everything they had learned in Mirima. Jinback rushed to his little sister's aid. Nothing could stop him. To distract Shinny from another attack on innocent people, Hondun activated martial arts. The woman immediately perked up, excited by the atmosphere of the battle and thinking it was a good place to start. Shinny responded with a powerful punch, hoping to break the guy this time. The magic clashed and neither power was inferior to the other. It was exciting to watch. Shinny grinned as her opponent was still as strong as ever. She enjoyed the fight. When the dust of the fight settled, the woman looked forward in surprise. There was no Hondun in front of her. It was as if he had vanished or dissipated with the dust. While she looked forward in bewilderment, Hondun attempted to strike her from above. He tried to take advantage of the surprise effect. However, at the last moment, Shinny noticed the guy and tried to fight back. Hondun's blow was so powerful that the woman was barely able to stay on her feet. Her subordinates exclaimed worriedly, but the mistress gave orders not to interfere with their fight. Jinback, who had been near his wounded relatives all this time, was amazed at what was happening before his eyes. It was the first time the boy had seen a real fight, which made him wonder if he was delirious. The movements of the masters were so incredible that it seemed as if they were not human beings fighting. Hondun was furious at the fact that the woman had dragged innocent people into the matter. He asked if this was the kind of method Jutsu was practicing now, for whose sake the woman had betrayed her own. The woman replied with a smirk that she would destroy anyone who stood in the way of her master, including. The man, out of anger, attempted another surprise attack, and he succeeded, the wave of force catching the woman. She dodged a direct hit, but the claws on her glove came off. The girl barely managed to save her fingers. Shinny wrinkled her nose in frustration. It wasn't just the gloves but her favorite weapon. She would definitely not forgive Hondan for this. In a few leaps she stepped back, realizing that the man was strong enough and not at all physically or mentally exhausted. The woman wanted to defeat the guy, to deal with him on her own, and thinking about it she rubbed her barely surviving fingers. The fight was dragging on, so the villainess ordered the mercenaries to immediately attack and kill the warrior. The battle with Shinny was actually quite tiring for the man, but he realized that the woman would not back down and would do her best to kill him. Hondan thought about the fact that his coming to this house had brought a lot of problems to the family, and it was his duty to do his best to win. Before the warrior's eyes was the immobilized body of a child. This girl's life depended only on him. The decision came quickly. The man knew there was no other way out. He had to deal with this bunch of Jutsu's henchmen as soon as possible. Shifting from foot to foot, Hondan thought about which technique to use to maximize his damage under the current circumstances. His choice was obvious. The man swirled dense waves of power around him. When the man saw what the warrior had begun to weave, everyone around him froze in amazement. The power of what was happening astounded everyone. Shinny came to her senses and ordered the warriors not to let the warrior finish his weave. She felt that his next strike could be fatal to her squad. But it was too late. Hondan unleashed a bloody dragon strike on his opponents. The power of the warrior's blow was so great that it knocked everyone off their feet, barely touching their bodies. After realizing what the man had used, the lady ordered the mercenaries to flee, turned around and tried to escape. The dragon's blow caught up with her and the escaped mercenaries near the mountain. The woman fell to the ground, but she was alive, and that pleased her, for Honduan's blow was indeed powerful. Sitting at the foot of the mountain, Shinny exhaled a sigh of relief and assumed it was probably a transformation attack. It was dangerous. A cracking sound came from somewhere above. It sounded like some massive block was breaking into small pieces. And looking up, the woman and her companion saw that the top of the mountain was collapsing. The warrior and the boy watched as the villains disappeared under a pile of rocks. Jinback was amazed by what he saw. He had only heard rumors from people that such power existed and only a few could control it. When he saw the warrior fighting with his own eyes, he had a new appreciation for the concept of martial arts. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave comments to help the new video come out as soon as possible. Have a great day.